And welcome back to Take One Podcast with your host Giovanni. And today we got two directors here to have a conversation with. The reoccurring director and producer Michael Wright and director and actor Blake Drivas.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Blake, I know this is the first time you're on the show. Feel free to tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah. So like you said, I do a little bit of directing and acting, but also a lot of editing. And I want to try to move on to producing as well, a little bit of writing. I mean, you as an independent filmmaker, you're always doing a little bit of everything anyways. And so I'm still working on trying to find out what my real niche is. But we're getting just a variety of things. Also, like I guess you and Michael we're armorers as well, so that's one other thing to add to the list.
Yeah, that's very unique because you don't hear about a lot of armorers, especially around the area.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. How was your guys' experience on that? Because I know you both are armorers and have done it before.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely, is it niche or niche?
I'm whatever. Believe me, there'll be a comment that'll tell you you're fucking wrong.
Okay. I think the colloquialism is like finding your niche and that like going into a niche. So I think it's like the phonetics and how you use it.
Niche sounds nicer, so it's an interesting niche.
Yes.
Yeah, I shouldn't do it.
Yeah, because I mean, obviously, at this level, a lot of people, it's just not something that seems appealing for people to want to do. It's obviously you can have some risk with it, and it's really just like a lot of misinformation or like people uninformed on that stuff in regards to armory. So it's something that there isn't usually like a lot of competition at this level, just because it's not something that like a lot of people would do.
What do you think? Go ahead. Sorry.
I also find it to where like it's a subject that a lot of people don't want to do any research on or like care to learn about, or because it's a specialized, not even that. Well, yeah, it's a specialized knowledge of what a specific like aspect that not a lot of people really care to know about, like guns or even weapons in general.
It's a little bit of a taboo subject with the film industry.
Yeah, but then at the same time, people want like cool action.
Yeah,
so people want John Wick without even doing research of like what makes it work or how it works.
Yeah, because I mean, at this level, like I mean, obviously, when you're getting higher up, and we'll talk about this later on the other episode with the movie coming up. But when you get to that level and you have scenes involving guns or whatever, you can get away with using like pretty good CG that like it's very convincing. But when you're at the lower levels, you're not going to be able to afford some good CG. So if you're not going to have an armor on set, it's going to look shitty. It's going to look fucking bad.
With that and the stock sounds of a gunfire.
Because there's many different aspects of like how a gun works. The shell ejects, the recoil, the flash.
It's a lot of
the
actual work for the CG.
And so that's the main rough of what you have to deal with, not just with guns, but with everything. Do you do CG or do you do it real? And what are the pros and cons of doing it practical versus computer generated?
Yeah, I'm just saying that like at this level, people aren't going to be able to afford that CG. So,
and that's one of those things, especially that I've noticed that like if someone's using like a fake gun using VFX, one thing I noticed they never get right is the recoil.
Yeah.
Some people go the motherfucking Annie Oakley, which is like boom like that, and then it's like, and there's some it's like it barely moves at all, right? And every gun has a different recoil naturally.
Yeah, and I think it's because like those actors or whoever you're referring to either just don't have practice or have never fired, never like used one before, so they don't really know
exactly. And you have to go into that aspect that like there's probably a lot of actors who've probably never touched a gun. Right. I remember you saying that like there's a lot of things that people misunderstand. What do you think is the number one thing that people misunderstand about using firearms on set?
If we're referring to the cast and crew, I mean, I guess I'd probably say safety. I mean, the recoil is definitely one. I mean, certainly the safety is the most important one.
Right.
Usually people are pretty damn good about that. It's just kind of instinctual, even if there's no live rounds in it. When you're not rolling, just try not to point it at people. I think most people can kind of learn to just kind of.
A lot of it's just like basic common sense the way I see it.
Yeah. I'd say really that's the main thing. The recoil too. I know I mentioned before with like Polybius with any like feature films. if we have the time, I certainly would like to take the actors out to like the range and fire real guns so they can at least familiarize themselves with recoil and certain like manuals of operation and stuff like that to make them a little bit more convincing. You know, any actor, if it's going to be a good enough film, they want to familiarize themselves with the character, with whatever they're doing, try and do things like extracurricular when they're not on set that applies to the character. That's certainly one of them, you know. So
I think it's just the issue.
good homework.
Yeah, the issue is like with ever since Russ with Alec Baldwin, people are just very hesitant into using actual firearms, and I think the main issue was like there shouldn't have been any live rounds to begin with.
Yeah, the thing too with it's so silly because it's such an easy thing to deal, like that could have just easily been prevented. Basically, it's insane that they brought actual live rounds. It's just like, I have no fucking idea why they did that. I mean, because it's like, I forget the term. It's something called like Swiss cheese theory, right? Where like, obviously Swiss cheese has a hole. And, there's a chance that something can go through the hole. But if you have multiple layers of Swiss cheese, there's like another thing that's blocking it. But eventually, there's going to be enough holes to connect that it can just fully go through. So like, It's not just one mistake. Yeah. It's a bunch of mistakes going together. So like, was it bad enough that they have live rounds? Yeah. And then from there, they didn't check it afterward. Like there's multiple times where they should have checked it. I don't know too much the details about like where necessarily the armor was with it. Did they get the case right? Sure. I don't know.
There were, so part of doing homework, actually, I'd recommend both you to watch. There's a documentary about Rust on YouTube. It's called The Last Take. And it details out all the information that we know as of now. And actually, it's funny, that's the only question that has not been answered and still is yet to be answered of how live rounds like got on.
Right.
Well, I mean,
and for the people at home, I would know this, but like for the people at home, how distinguishable is a live round to like a prop one?
In most cases, because there's different definitions, right? If we were referring to a blank round that basically will, cause a flash and have some powder and all that stuff, the main difference between that and a live round is that there's two things in, a bullet. There is the casing and the actual projectile itself, the actual bullet. Blanks don't have an actual bullet because what happens when the gun is fired, the round that has all the powder is going to push out the bullet itself, and then that's going to go out and cause harm or whatever. But there is no bullet when the gun goes off. The case just has the powder, so it's just powder and just flash that comes out. So
and so like a blank round would actually have a crimp,
right?
And so it'd look like basically a star or like the actual brass like crimps onto itself. Meanwhile, the actual like projectile bullet actually is a round like part on it.
If I had a whiteboard, I'd draw it, but I'm not a very good artist, so I don't know.
but it's also to your original question, like when you're saying that it's important to distinguish a dummy round from a live round. They do some other things to where, because that's what we're talking about specifically. That was a blank. So a blank versus a live round as opposed to a dummy round. A dummy round does look like it has that bulge of the bullet, the projectile, but it's inert. There's no powder in it to where like once the firing pin hits the primer, it sparks and burns the powder, and then that's what fires the bullet. So essentially, dummy rounds have the bullet in them, but they don't have any powder to burn, and they don't have a primer to actuate it, or a deactivated primer. The best way to deactivate primers is to use WD-40. And
that's the solution for almost everything.
Oh yeah, yeah. So actually, there's been cases. An old gunsmith told me this, to where like cops back in the day used to clean their guns with WD-40, and then when they had to use it, the bullets wouldn't fire. So
really,
yeah, that's it. So, but then that brings the question in terms of film: how do you determine a live round from a dummy round if they look identical? Once you clean out the gunpowder of the dummy, you can put a little tiny ball in it and rattle it, and that's how you can determine. But if sound is probably a big issue, if you just need it very quietly for like nothing at all, you would then have like a primer that has hit the firing pin and it looks like, oh, okay, this has already gone off. Then you could reuse it for however.
For those of you in the audience that is ever in a situation like that in which you detect a dummy round, you do the shake and like, oh shit, this is a real round. Assuming that you are the armorer, you should probably not do this job anymore if you were unable to figure that out. If you are the director or anyone else, call it for the day and have that armorer go home, because that is insane. You know, that is, I mean, that's kind of what happened with Rust. It should never get to that case. Like, I'm trying to think of like what a good analogy would be. Like, I mean, it would be like, you know, the equivalent of like, I don't know, like packing condoms that have like a hole poked through it. Like, it'd be insane. Insane. What are you doing? You know, like, so yeah, if you ever in a situation like that, the armor's got to go home, find someone else, call it, and get rid of those.
Maybe give us a call.
Yeah.
Exactly. We won't do that.
Yeah. See, that's the thing what people don't realize too, that if done correctly, no one's life should even be remotely in danger.
Yeah.
Because even when you're doing scenes, when you're firing, most of the time, no one's even remotely in the way.
Yeah.
Because it's just about like how you properly editing you, right? You know, it's just how you edit and how you that it may look like that way, but in reality, like there's no one in the direct line of fire. Because even with a blank or a dummy gun, if it's close to you in the face, it can cause severe damage.
Right. So you'd want to be about what, like 6 feet away at the minimum safety distance.
Yeah, the old COVID rules.
And unlike, you know, like a good, I guess, practical set or whatever, we're doing like a lot of practical stuff. Not just like, you know, a higher budget thing. You're going to be more in danger for like stunt driving, things like that have a higher risk of being. Because I mean, for what it's worth, it's been like a hot minute since there's been an accident like that on Rust, which of course sucks that was the case.
Right.
But in a way that kind of shows just like how far we've come in terms of safety.
Yeah.
I mean, that should just be the case in general. Like, you know, whatever high risk thing. I mean, like airplanes, for instance, that's a great example. You know, like the crash rate of airplanes used to be like super, super high back in the day, but people learn from their mistakes, and then you just keep making more and more changes to safety protocol, and, you know, you can see like the sharp increase in safety rates. And I feel like that's pretty much the case with blanks. I mean, again, disregarding the one that just happened recently, like there's been a lot more than there's been before. Just
because the last one I could think of off the bat was the Crow. It was a similar situation.
Actually, I know how that one like actually happened. I was talking with some other people of that, and it's because the armor obviously cheaped out. They did not clean out. They did not use deactivated primers. So even if you clean out the gunpowder, there's still a little bit of spark and pressure that could lodge the bullet into the barrel. And they were like, oh, it's different. But then if that bullet is stuck in the barrel and then you fire a blank, that's still powder like burning throughout there. And so it's essentially...
So if someone would have checked prior, could that have been avoided?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, again, for you audience members out there, don't get an armor that cheaps out on stuff. That's like, you know, an insane thing to do for that armor to do that. The analogy would be like, yeah, you know, brake pads, you know, it's like $200 more. I don't really have that money. I'm just gonna wing it, you know. Like, we don't need to worry about brakes. What are you talking about?
Yeah,
like,
and that's the thing too. At the end of the day, when you like cheap out on this and cheap out on that, I mean, is it gonna cost less? But at the end of the day, people are gonna see the end product at the end of the day. So like,
but I think that's also a thing, especially at this level. People just don't have the money to spend, and so this is actually a really good analogy. My mom told me back when I was doing everything, back when I was like a lot broker than I am now. But it's like, if you don't have enough to tip, then you shouldn't go out to eat.
Right.
And I see a lot of people, a lot of filmmakers out here trying to go to an all-you-can-eat buffet.
A lot of filmmakers out here trying to get the finance my order with DoorDash.
No, they're not even doing that.
Can I get this bagel on layaway?
Yeah, bro, that looks crazy.
Like, because at least if you're a filmmaker that is trying to make something, trying to make a budget for yourself, work for it. Yeah. But no one is going out here and doing it. And that's probably a case by case basis, depending on the individual. But you know, no one's gonna give the money to you for free.
And I feel like I never want to gatekeep people basically being like, hey, if you don't have enough money, if you're a broke boy, don't get in this game. But I feel like in certain scripts and certain projects, you have to manage your expectations.
Yeah.
You don't write $1 million script if you only have $500 to play with.
Yeah. Exactly. And for some reason, people don't realize that. I feel like people should have learned that by the time they were 21, 23. I learned that when I was 24.
Right.
And there's people like 38, 50 that it's weird to them. It's like something they never learned in their whole life. And it's like it's a weird thing, and it's like if they don't know that, I don't know.
Frankly, they probably never will, because if you think about like 38, 50 years old, they've been doing this for a while, and they just keep making the same mistakes over and over. You know, I hate to say like a natural selection or whatever, but like, you know, they've been in this for this long and they're at this level. Well, there's probably a reason.
I feel like it goes under two camps. I mean, the first camp, I would say, like, if someone is like so into their own shit and thinks what they're doing is so ahead of it that like they don't even want to hear outside criticism of it because they've done it before.
Yeah.
And they're so stuck into it. I've been doing this for X amount of years. I'm good. But if you kind of like stay at the same level with all these years and you haven't grown, and sometimes you even revert, it doesn't say much. And the other camp, and some of it, I feel like some people just want to do like a campy movie. I feel like there's a market on it to make a movie that's like low key bad.
Yeah, there is. Unfortunately.
Yeah, there is. I mean, I've seen a lot of those movies that like. I mean, The Room is a debate, right? It's a debate whether that was intentionally.
It wasn't intentional.
It wasn't. Yeah.
but
oh, I know that. But like, I know. Didn't Tommy Wiseau was like, "Oh no, it's
in retrospect, yeah. But yeah, no, I mean, like, don't get me wrong. Like, there's kind of like, it's so bad it's good purposefully.
Yeah, there's Thanksgiving. That was another one. Was like a killer turkey.
Right. It's fun like the first couple times, but then it's just kind of such an overabundance, and like. I mean, I don't know, man. It sells people. People want to watch that. I'm not the typical audience member. I will say that. So like,
not like the other girls.
It's like I don't know, man. Like I went to the fucking theater. They're making another Final Destination. Is like
That kind of looks pretty good, though. I mean, I'm not a big Final Destination fan.
You see, this is why. Hey, it's fine. You know, listen. All I'm saying is like. Hey, if people want to watch it, people want to watch it. I'm not going to want to watch it. I think it's slop, but hey, you know.
But it's not intentionally like B-rated. You could see that there's actual effort and planning like into it, as opposed to like because that's probably different than people without money trying to make $1 million.
Oh yeah, for sure. They're two totally different things. Like you know, I can respect obviously the effort that went into it. I'm just simply saying that like. You know, an original.
With those long-ass franchises, I kind of view them the way, like, in video games, you have, like, you know, your Madden and your 2K that, like, they'll add features and take them away and add features and take them away. And then they'll repackage the new features like it's something new, even though they had them, like, since 2006, but they kept them and they brought them back anyway. It's one of those things that, like, people will buy it because they're familiar with it and they want to get their bang for the buck. Like, okay, I remember having a good time watching the Marvel movies or, you know, the Fast and Furious.
Because people are afraid to get out of their comfort zone.
Right.
They just want comfort food or comfort, you know, entertainment, something that they don't have to, like, you know, think about or whatever, just something to, like, you know, they had a long day of work, whatever, and they just want to, like, watch the same thing over and over. You know, people be like, "Oh, I'm so upset about like Todd Howard. You know, he's using the same game engine. He's not making anything new." It's like Oblivion Remastered. Like, yes, please.
but it's so weird because people are always like one to say once you get a sequel of any franchise, they then say that like, "Oh, Hollywood's unoriginal. Give us something original."
Right.
And then the cases when something original like does come out and doesn't do well, is that the fault of the audience or the film itself?
Honestly, I'm going to say it's the fault of. I'm leaning more towards the fault of the audience. I've had a conversation with Christian about this recently, and like I think he's right. You know, there's a lot of good new film ideas and stuff coming out, and. You know, I think before, like, I mean, don't get me wrong. If it's just not good enough, it's just not good enough. People aren't interested. But I do think nowadays, like, I feel like we've kind of just gotten just so much more into like just going for comfort stuff and not going for things that like is different to us. And there's a lot of like, I guess, socioeconomic like things that are bigger than the film industry. Like, you know, the audience member is just an average person. They don't really care too much about like particulars of film. There's stuff that's going on in their life. And like a societal reason that would make them lean more towards just being more leaning towards things that they're familiar with and things that they're not. People just don't want to take as much of a risk.
Yeah.
Anymore.
And I think it's also with the marketing too, because if you never hear about the movie, it's not pushed in your face, then you're never going to see it.
Yeah. I mean, that's definitely true.
And there's also like in the aspect of like you do something unique and original. I mean, you have those ones that like they have powerful performances, incredible, do something that's completely different from film. I mean, people like us could appreciate it, but like for the average Joe, I mean, like, naturally you do something like I don't know, like. The Whale or something that like is very it has.
Don't get him started on that.
But I'm saying that it's different. And it does, and the performances of Brendan Fraser are like fantastic, but it's not like it would attract the common person to see that.
Oh, definitely. It's all the film bros or people who are interested in the Oscars or the higher art people, and you get.
But even ones like Mickey 17, things like that are like more appealing and stuff. I don't know. I think it kind of has something to do with like the algorithm too. There's one movie that I watched recently. I can't remember it, but it was like. Kind of an original idea or whatever. Like, I just wasn't getting advertisement for it. And then after I saw the movie, now I'm getting advertisement for it. So, like, I think just maybe the way, like, Facebook, Instagram, the way that the algorithm works is like, maybe, like, the stuff that you watch on Reels and stuff, they don't think that you'd be going for that particular film. But then after you watch it, the algorithm's like, oh, you went to see that. Time for us to advertise. Like, dog is a little bit late on that end.
I know. Oh, same thing. It happens all the time during voting season for me. I vote as soon as possible just to get it out of the way, and I still get like ads for it.
Yeah,
and I don't know
those text messages.
I don't know if you got these ads for like these waterproof shoes or as well like Vessies
for voting.
For voting? No.
What the fuck you vote
for me? I'll give you these waterproof.
No. Okay, another product that they keep advertising. It's like I think it's called Vessies. They actually advertise them as actual waterproof shoes. So I was like, oh shit, I need to get some new shoes. You hate the idea when like your shoes get wet and your socks get wet. It's like whatever. Okay, it's like, oh, let me pop open a tab and like maybe I'll get these like another time when my paycheck comes in. And now every time I go on YouTube, like
even if you talk about something, your phone picks that shit up. And then like you have it forever. Even when you say like because there's even a phone setting where you can shut it off and. Even that, I still see that like it sinks through the cracks. Like there's certain things that pop up that like I've had a conversation on. Like I had a conversation about Breaking Bad, and then like my YouTube algorithm went a lot of clips on Breaking Bad without me ever typing that shit in.
I've done tests with that stuff too. Where like we'll talk about stuff that we've never talked about before, and just give it like a day or something, and it'll pop up on your YouTube feed and all that. It's like it's no longer even like wow that's crazy. It's like wow that's annoying.
Yeah.
So like, and it obviously it has flaws. Like you'll realize that you went to go see this movie. Now I'm gonna advertise for that movie. It doesn't realize it's too late. Right. It's just it's a whole like rabbit hole with terms of like advertising and like AI algorithms and stuff like that.
We're just one Black Mirror episode.
Yeah,
that's literally. I remember you guys talking about, you said like, some people had like their particular styles. Like when you got, how do you guys like found your own style into making films?
I go by example. I think I'm very much like a genre filmmaker, not going by like a specific, like seeing what trends have come before and what you need to hit on the head with each genre and what you can kind of like flip and like do differently. Something like something like what Tarantino does. He takes all these like types of genres and types of movies and then he basically like makes it his own to the point to where like the stuff that he's like stealing from, ripping off is more popular than the original because it's also like out of like left field and very old that most people wouldn't really like get.
Well, the other day we're all just like borrowing from each other.
Yeah,
indeed, which is what I like, and that's what I like to do.
Yeah. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that too. Like if he didn't bring that to light or whatever, then a lot of people wouldn't have known about whatever that was inspiring him. I don't see anything necessarily wrong with that at all. Like
I mean, if there wasn't no Michael Jackson, we wouldn't have like Neo and Usher and Justin Timberlake, and that's the same thing too. It's just like. As long as you take it and you make it your own.
And of course, Michael Jackson has taken a lot from those before. So
Yeah.
there's nothing wrong with that, as long as they have like a unique thing that they're throwing into it.
Yeah.
I mean, that is, like, oh, that's unoriginal. What are you talking about? Like, well, they use the same, 27 letters.
But yeah, that's kind of like, yeah, see, and also kind of see what I'm still figuring it out myself as well, but that's kind of what I've gravitated towards, like, see what kind of genre story you're trying to make, see what has come before, what works, what doesn't work, and what you want to make different.
Yeah. I saw that you made a music video that was really cool. I really enjoyed it. How's that different from making like any film, a short film? Because like when you create a script for creating like a music video, like what's your process of going about that?
It depends on what kind of music video you want to make, because you could either have a narrative style music video, which actually has a story to tell, or you could just have a performance piece with just the bands like playing, and you just do a whole bunch of like crazy effects. And with that version, you could just do a lot of like crazy camera and lighting things just to do it. Mm-hmm. I don't really like doing that. I respect others who do, but I think it's also like why I want to do a more narrative, more story piece is because like people can get attached more to the story and like encase a lot more, which then you're essentially making a film, a regular narrative film that already has the soundtrack already made, and so then it's up to you of how you want to do it. You're essentially making a musical for one scene,
right?
Is the best way I could describe it.
Yeah.
And but also it depends on the artist and who you talk with and what they kind of want. We actually worked on another music video to where there wasn't necessarily a narrative for it, but a whole bunch of like elaborate, like aesthetically pleasing shots.
Right.
And we were just like on to help for that, so we didn't really have a say in what like to do or how to do. It was just a good friend. She already had it planned out, and all we had to do was execute it. And it looks decent, looks great for what it is. And it's just I would have done something like differently. But hey, not my.
No,
not
that's
my monkeys,
fair.
not
At
my
the end of the
series.
day, yeah. At the end of the day, I mean, you're picked for a particular role. They ask to help, and it's like you can't always take charge.
Yeah.
Yeah. Otherwise, it's like a too many cooks in a kitchen
Yeah.
situation. Yeah. It just even like when you for your trailer for Neuropsychosis, like you kind of it almost was like a quasi music video.
Yeah.
Like when you did like a trailer and stuff, like what made you pick that song and did it set that particular tone?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I suppose to spoil it, but the song's also like the end credit song. Why that song in particular? Well, I mean, that particular person reached out. I actually think it's kind of coincidentally. Obviously the person that sent it, they didn't know anything really about the story, but some of the lyrics, like, oh shit, that actually works pretty damn good, because I think I was originally looking for it to just be like, just a trailer thing, but and then we ended up using it for end credits. But yeah, it works good thematically. The synth works with some of the music that we're doing. So yeah, I mean, in general, if it's going to be a trailer, whatever, the music has to fit the vibe of the story. I mean, the music is telling a story, with the lyrics or just with the beats, the high notes, the low notes, whatever they're trying to get. Mm-hmm. I mean, if the song's good enough, you should be able to like hear a story in it. I mean, for me at least, like anytime like I hear a song, I'm like, oh shit, I like what kind of scene would I make into like a movie or whatever. I guess that's kind of like a Tarantino thing, right? He does that a lot. I love having music in films.
Yes.
I mean, again, I keep going to watch the next episode on we're reviewing Sinners. A lot of music in there, and I love that. I love that shit. Like you're like, what's your style, dude? I fucking love like music in movies. I think it's a great way to highlight it.
To set a tone.
Yeah, because like for me, it's like movies like the perfect like median for getting all this stuff together, because you have dialogue, you have sound, you have visual stuff, things that like music is just sound, you got all this shit that's like combining to one. It's like, oh yeah, dude, that's awesome. Like I want to use all these elements as much as possible. Don't give me just some generic ass like stock music. What I was like, no, it's got to be just as good as the visual stuff, just as good as the story.
Easy.
You can't skimp out on it.
Because sometimes it even those moments are even more memorable than the movie itself, like Halloween.
Yeah.
Jaws. I think the wildest one for me is, I mean, this is a throwback, but The Hills of Eyes.
Oh,
when if you bought it on DVD and like the menu music
Yeah.
was scarier than the actual freaking movie. I remember that music on it,
Yeah.
and I'm like, oh my god, like you just like that haunted you more than the movie itself.
Wow.
Yeah. There's like it's it's a good movie when like you buy the soundtrack.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
So when because you said like you worked with somebody, like how much of a leeway do you give him? Like do you give him free range, or do you kind of set him like in certain parameters?
If you're referring to music videos,
Just working with soundtracks and even music and stuff.
Well, I mean, if it's for me, like I'm getting like someone that's making the score, it kind of depends on the person. Like if I've worked with them before, I'll usually probably give them a little bit more leeway because I'm familiar with what they do. A lot of times I do want to give a decent amount of leeway just because I want them to be able to be like, I want to give the most amount of leeway first and then kind of like pick it down from there. But I want them to just be as expressive as possible and then kind of make moves from there. Because frankly, a lot of times, and not just with sound, but like anyone that's going to be on set or whatever, they're just going to think a little bit different than you, and they're going to come up with an ideas like, oh, I thought about this when I listened to I think this happened a couple times with like Polybius, where like the guy that made the score, he thought of like thematic notes or whatever that like I didn't even think it was like, oh dude, that kind of just changes the scene. That's fucking awesome. Like hell yeah, I'm totally down with that. Like if you got something that's good that I didn't think about, I have no problem at all with changing it. But then and then there's other times like it does have to be this way. Like this it's in my mind. I think that this is the right way to go. So it's a little bit of both. Kind of just depends on the person, really.
Have you guys worked on a project where like you guys were on an even footing with somebody else, and then it's like you guys had just like a disagreement on like a film, like in that sense?
Together or?
Well, no, I mean just in the sense that like nothing like hostile. Just like you had a certain direction on it. That person has a different one. Like how do you like navigate that?
In terms of the only one I could think, actually, probably myself, not a lot, if at all, because I've only done so many projects, and actually, like that music video I did, I was supposed to have a producer, but unfortunately, he had some family issues to where he was not available. So I was pretty much alone for that, to where actually I probably would have wanted something like that.
Right.
So that, and actually the only other like time, it wasn't even that big of a thing. We all were there for it. It was when we were filming the mansion scene for Get It Done. I think I wanted one piece of gum on the table, and everyone, and like Anthony was very adamant about it. No, give him a damn handful.
More funny that way.
Yeah. And so then I was like, oh shit, okay, let's do it. Which ultimately, like, I was a little stressed all throughout the day, so I didn't really care. But I think I wanted like to have a certain like order to everything. But ultimately, it's just if everyone's cool with it, then like who am I to be the one guy to?
Because you guys work together and get it done. So like, did you guys like how was it? Was it you guys like both of you guys being directors working together?
Usually, what I do, and I'm sure I probably like mentioned it to you at some point. I really think it had to like be used really per se, but I kind of have like sort of a golden rules like. I have like, let's just say like 3 things, right, that can't be changed no matter what. And then other things that I can very much be like willing to listen to. So, like democracy, whatever, if everyone's saying change it, then yeah. But also, I could maybe call upon that card. Like, no, I still got this one left. And like, this is the one that I'm going to put my foot down. Maybe wrong. I don't know. Leave it to the audience to find out, right? Hopefully if it is wrong, then you learn your lesson. Like, oh shit, I was stupid on that. Should have listened to everyone else, Try not to go more than 3 on that, right? I mean, there is, if it's like a mixed reaction where people are kind of like swinging one way or the other, I guess you make that decision, right? But if everyone, and I mean everyone, is like saying something that is against what you're saying, you really got to consider like why is that the case? So, I mean, definitely try and get like as wide of a cast as wide of a net as possible with like getting reviews and stuff, because people definitely have different opinions and stuff, and sometimes people care about it more than others, but that's kind of good too, because like the average audience member isn't like a film person. They're kind of just an average audience member, they're just looking at something just for the hell of it. They're not as invested as other people. So in a way it's kind of more, I almost feel it almost more important to like get opinions from people that don't really care that much, if that makes sense. Like, as long as they don't really care, like, they're just going to watch it in the casual sense. Because, again, those are the most...
You target to the audience.
Right. Yeah, and that's what I did for a lot of Get It Done as well. And that's where we actually were, even though we probably had, like, the picture lock for most of everything, like, those minor, like, changes with the text or chopping off some, like, stuff at the tail end, because we don't need to see, like, this character walk into, like, open the door and walk into the room and, like, take, like, 3 seconds to do that, chop it right there. Couple, like, things, because I showed it to a lot of buddies at work, and since it's such a wide, like, net of, like, different people, different, like, skill sets, they have different thoughts and opinions. So one person I said it to, he has no idea what a Firebird is, and so he was a little bit lost on that. But everyone else could guess that, like, what a Firebird, like, looks like when she shows it. Another person who's an older gentleman that I had a text to where, like, for Vitaly's character, he's the Dawn. But I had the text there that said Capo. You wouldn't have the Dawn and the Capo be the same person. The Capo works underneath the Dawn. And out of everyone I showed it to, it was only one person who actually knew that and actually, like, educated me on that. So you could actually learn something from other people that you have no
you learn something too about that type of person if they give you some. I think I mentioned before with neuropsychosis, there's, like, a particular scene where you and Anastasia, you're going to talk to the drug dealer, and like, through and through, like, everyone that's kind of, like, older, right? The boomer generation. They'd be like, oh no, the woman wouldn't go with the man to the drug dealing scene or whatever. Like, that would be improper for the woman to go there. And, like,
how dare yourself?
Yeah, it's like the main feedback for that is, like,
I mean, they might have a little bit of experience and that.
Okay, well, times have changed, man.
But the thing is, like, that wasn't a period piece at all.
Yeah, it's like, listen, brother, it's 2024. Like, the women can go, to the drug deal. Yeah, okay.
I guess it depends on that, but I think it's also, like, if you're trying to take
it's a character thing too, because I'm like, well, she's kind of more like a badass character, right? It's just like, it wasn't just for the hell of it, like, there's an intention to it, but just sometimes if people are just kind of stuck in their ways or whatever, they will just view it through their lens, right? No matter what,
right?
So, there's nothing really you can do, basically,
right? And that brings it up to, as well as, like, who you also show it to, like, my folks, like my parents. As nice it is to show them some of the stuff, they're always, like, asking questions throughout the movie rather than just watching the damn movie. Right. Or even, like, another friend at work who was only half paying attention to the thing, and then he was asking questions about, like, why did this? Like, well, watch the damn thing, and you'll probably understand. And so it gets into the point of, like, also, like, depending on the person, you might want to give them more validity than others, and that depends on the person, obviously. So take every criticism with a grain of salt and see, like, what their validity is worth.
Yeah, because I mean, there's a difference between, like, I would say, like, criticism and feedback. I feel like those are two different things, because criticism is more of, like, you are kind of, like, talking about it, but, like, a lot of it is, like, you're not offering a solution. So, like, anyone can do that. Like, you have, the stereotypical, like, person that's, like, 400 pounds teaching you how to lose weight. There's that's that sort of attitude, the way I view that. Feedback is different because, like, you have a person that's genuinely interested in you improving the project and is actually offering you, like, some sound advice.
Yeah, it's a good way to think about it.
I think, is there a difference between criticism and feedback? I mean, I think I would want to look up, like, the definition.
This is a philosophical.
Yeah,
no, because at least from where I learned back at film school, they use it, like, one and the same.
Right.
And because that was part of the, like, learning and how to do better is getting criticism and slash feedback. So
yeah, I think there's, like, with the word criticism, it's gotten, like, a little negative connotation.
Yeah, it's a broad definition. Just depends on how you define the word criticism, So.
Right.
Mm-hmm. I think, but it's also, like, in terms of how one gives their advice or, like, gives their thoughts on the piece as a whole. They should say what they like about it, what they don't like about it, and questions of that, while offering, maybe a solution, like, there's a phrase that my producing teacher taught me: don't come at me with a problem, come at me with a solution.
Right.
So part of that is recognizing, well, first acknowledging what is a problem, and then recognizing that if you need to fix it or not, or what you need to change to make it readable. I say this to where film is all about communication. Mm-hmm. You're communicating a story and an idea, and if people are confused of what's going on, you're obviously not doing a good job communicating. And so the thing is, you have to then use filmmaking, cinematic language to communicate the idea of what's going on through the characters, through like audio and visual.
Yeah.
And that's like so broad, but it's the things about like, it's like it's like, oh, little like cliches or rules that always happen. Like, oh shoot, there's a movie at the beginning, there's a say there's a gun on the wall at the beginning, and it's like, oh yeah, that's my hunting gun. And then halfway through, it's a horror movie. There's this big like Wendigo that comes and breaks in, and so then the character
remember the gun?
runs to try to get the gun from the first scene and like tries to kill him.
Right.
I think that's the hard thing.
Chekhov's gun. The gun designed
to specifically kill Chekhov's gun. And it's not just that, but also like a whole bunch of other stuff, which gets back into some of the other people around here that maybe just doing it just to do it and not to improve. They don't learn all the rules of like what filmmaking like is about, and like what have other people done. They're just like off doing their own thing. But if they have no basis of like where to start and where people have come before them, start from scratch, they're going to just waste time screwing around.
Yeah. You can't reinvent the wheel if you don't know how the fucking wheel works.
Exactly.
It's essentially how it goes. And there are people who have that kind of mentality that they don't want to. They're afraid of copying somebody. They want to be like a trend. But again, you have to know what came before you.
Yeah, and it's all about improving. I mean, like have a prototype at first and see what you've done, and then like go on it from there. It really baffles me of like why. You know, I think we as people, not just filmmakers, but us as people in any like industry or just life in general would want to improve.
Yeah, I think everyone just like wants to be like a pioneer, and I feel like usually when someone doesn't want to improve, it means they felt like, okay, I hit an acceptable level that people will like and come see.
Yeah.
I guess, but I think it's like more internal than that. I think it's more like I hit an acceptable level that I'm comfortable with.
Yeah.
Or that like it takes more effort to improve or like to do stuff differently, and I don't want to put that effort.
Yeah, because like complacency is like the death of creativity to me.
Yeah.
Like if you're not wanting to improve, you want to stay stagnant, then like I don't see your art going in that much further.
Right, and so at that point, like why are you even doing it?
Right. I remember, like you said, like for the original, like Forget It Done, you brought it to a film fest, and they checked it out, and then you brought it back to like just to, like make it a more improved version, we'll say. What made you think that? What kind of inspired you to want to like touch up a couple things and just bring it back?
Well, it actually I just remembered something you said earlier. You said we were the directors to get it done. I'm not a director. I'm just a producer and editor for it. He's the main director, and we also had another director with us as well. And he, because that was originally, and actually, Michael, this
right, because I mean, it was originally titled something else, but to Blake's credit, Blake was the one that's like, well, I guess to preface it, the original version, like it was just like for a competition that needed to get done in like essentially 3 days or whatever, and kind of was what it was. But then after that, Blake was like, "Oh, I like the potential. I want to improve upon it. Now that we don't have to worry about the barrier of it being only 3 days, I want to take what was made and then mold it to make it more impressive. So then take it to Blake,
right, and then go on it from there. And that's pretty much like the nail on the head right there, because I'm at the point of my life to whatever like effort I put in, I would also like to get back out.
Right.
And for something of like what we're all doing around here, it's one thing if we want to spend like a day or two, um, we don't have to take it seriously of just like recording and having fun and like making something like funny or whatever. But then if we want to take it a step further and make something a little more than half decent, then we need to plan and then figure out what we need and how we can do it, and what resources we need to like make that happen. And so yeah, I saw potential of the story that that we made initially, and it goes back to actually talking with other people as well. And talking a lot to Anthony. Anthony really wanted to make it like happen a lot because for not just like his reel, but also like other people's reels, like your reel, our reels. It's a good demonstration of what we can show as filmmakers and actors, and just an entertaining like film in general. And then when showing and then telling my other friend, especially probably my biggest supporter, my girlfriend, because she wants to actually write and do like stuff as well. So she has a creative like output as well, and she wants to like always get my opinion, and also like she's a great resource to who I talk to as well. And so we, like once a day of every month. Actually, I remember like talking about it. We went to the beach one time, and I just like kept spurting around the idea of like, so I see like what we've done so far, but I'm like, what needs to be like done before? What makes sense right now? What needs to be re-edited? And what we like, yeah. And so having a good like person to have an outlet to like bounce stuff back and forth of is a good idea. As well as when talking with you, Michael, I know we had some disagreements of what we even needed at all. But ultimately it's like what we talked about previously is give or take. Maybe like you have one thing that's set in stone, but then we see like what else we can change along the way. And I think at least we could say this: it's a lot better than what it initially was, and I think it's a lot funner and a lot more people enjoy it.
Yeah, we'll have to see.
Because I know you did a lot of scouting on that to find like the right spot for it. Like when you guys are looking for like locations, like is it like ingrained in you? Like I have to have it a certain way, or like do you guys compromise with that? How what's the experience like when you're like going down and scouting for like locations to shoot?
I mean, sure, you got pretty lucky with that mansion.
Yeah. Yes, I did. I guess it depends on what's written in the script. It's like what you said before. Don't write $1 million script if you only got $500. And so it also depends on where we are, and if it's not in our immediate area, where are we willing to go to find it, or build it yourself. And
build your own house.
Build your own house. Yeah, because that's
brick by brick.
Well, that's what the actual that's what like two people recommended, and as fun as that would be, and even I did take a set building like class before. It's not like we have a sound stage or a whole space to where you can make that happen. And as opposed to trying to find the scene in question was a Godfather-esque office, very luxurious, and so went around on Facebook and tried like contacting a couple people to try to find a location of like a classic, like is regal the right word, or like
yeah, maybe
at least like like higher class like aesthetic.
Right.
And so with also with like maybe like a little bit of a classic aesthetic as well to it. So it's already kind of like hard pressed to find something like that. No one's really going to have something like that they can have in their home unless it is a luxurious home or an attorney's just like office. But even then, an attorney is probably going to have like a lot of books and a lot of stuff as well, depending on if their office, because you know what an attorney office looks like. It could be very like
it's various. Like I don't know, when you did like Polybius, when he did like the scene in the radio, like were you just looking for a radio station, or that would have just settled, or like that particular one was like that's the one I
mean, unfortunately, it probably was the first one. I mean, it was set in the 80s. That one was decent enough, right? And like the equipment and the way that it looked with the wood panels and shit, close enough. but also like I don't know, there's like only 3 radio stations around. Around Pinellas County. So, I mean, I don't know, a little bit of both. I mean, it had come across my mind before because I knew someone that had used the radio station for stuff. And I had known that person when we were writing. So I think that has a little bit more to do with it. So, like, when we're making the Mad Dog McCready thing, we already knew that we knew someone with a radio station. It's like, oh, let's incorporate it because we know we could go to that station. So it wasn't really as much like looking around for the place, more like, we knew that we could use it, so let's incorporate it into the story. So, and it worked out good that it did fit the vibe enough, right? So, yeah, I mean, like, I guess, if you wrote it before, it's like, oh, shit, I know I could use this mansion, then, well, that works out great. But.
Right, but I think it also depends on, because essentially the version that we did initially was more like right in the middle as, like, stuff has probably happened like off screen, and so I wanted to give context to why like we're now at a dinner scene, and why Angelina needs to kill your character,
right.
and the reason.
Oh, spoilers!
Like this. I guess I did. I didn't know if we needed to talk about it or have you. I mean, it's probably posters.
It's fine.
Posters getting done like sometime soon. We'll release the trailer soon, so that'll be all that soon. But. To go back to answer your question, I just kind of ramble a lot. Find some example photos of what I want. Just go on Google Images, get a couple, go on some Facebook groups, say like, hey, I'm looking for this location. Here's some examples. If anyone wants to tell me, please let me know. Let me see what can work out. Got a couple bites with a couple people, called up some other friends as well. Almost got an attorney's office for one place filmmaker did use for another thing. That attorney was busy, so it's all good. Yeah. Called up a couple places that might fit the vibe, and we just moved some furniture around. Yeah. People didn't get back. But ultimately, lo and behold, there's a locations manager named Carol Matlock of Matlock Productions, and so she has a whole Rolodex of other places for scouted that she just like so happens to have, and one of them was that mansion that she used for one other thing, and got a good deal on it because the realtor for that is a SAG commercial actor as well. So he was able to like cut us a pretty good deal doing all that. So we really lucked out with that location.
Well, no, it was a really cool house, by the way. I was like, holy shit.
Well, it's available to rent. So if y'all want a boys' night out and split the cost for. A couple days.
For 100 people. Yeah. I remember, like, for certain movies, you traveled, like, all around Florida. Like, to find a particular spot that, like, fit that mood. Like, how extensive do you go for that research, like, of finding the place you want to, that, like, fits the tone?
Right. Well, I mean, particularly for Polybius, again, just because it's set in the 80s, we kind of had to, right?
Right.
So, I mean, that's the first thing. If it's set in modern time, then, I mean, no, to be honest with you, it just depends on the budget, right? I mean, if you got the money for it, then fuck it. If you got the time for it, then fuck it, right? If you don't, then you got to make some compromises with what's nearby. I mean, like, with neuropsychosis, we didn't go too far, like in Newport Richie to, like, down to, I guess St. Pete, right? We didn't go further south than St. Pete, so it's not.
No,
not that far of a range. I don't know, man. It's just like if you have the money and the time, just be determined enough to do it. I mean, I don't know.
How do you guys like balance your time like in the industry in respect of like you got into work and making the money naturally? That's the question.
that is the question to ask every low budget filmmaker. It's like, hey, how do you do this?
I think you and I are particularly opposites. Your schedule's pretty set in stone with all the work you do. Mine is consistently inconsistent. Because as a on call for the Home Shopping Network, which I'll probably have some more free time as that closes down soon, and as a freelance editor where I only come into the office every once in a week and can work from home for everything else. It depends on like, do I want to screw around and do some research for a project I want to do, or do I want to get some work done today, or do I want to pick up another shift? And like, sometimes with all the connections I have, sometimes the work comes to me. Like I get always get a call from like Michael Elliott's like every once a month, saying like if I could help out with one thing or if he could borrow another thing, but also now that we are no longer bachelors, we have to dedicate time to our loved ones as well, don't we?
Yeah, I mean, I guess just as long as you have like a week or, I mean, 2 weeks for sure. That's plenty of time,
Right.
to make plans and all that. A week, easy enough. It's like the next day is like, hey, I need you on this gig. It's like, I don't know.
Yeah, and so that's a big thing as well. Some people, I mean, there was actually like a couple like gigs that like 3 people like hit me up for, and it was like, hey, you available like tomorrow for this? And I was like, oh, shoot, did they really just back down that quickly, or like you just trying to?
Hey, you
something?
available tomorrow for this podcast? I'm just.
wait, is that what happened? Because you told me at least a week ahead.
Yeah, I know. You told us ahead of time.
Okay. Well, and you're doing a lot better than
I just want to let you know, no, that did not happen.
Actually, if anything, I was the one that's like, hey, let's do it this time because I knew that I knew that I was free.
Right.
And then I guess you were free, obviously. Yeah. You're here.
I mean, it's Sunday. Everyone should be free on Sunday. Should be.
No, I really appreciate you guys coming.
Yeah.
No, of course. I've always wanted to, talk on a podcast. This is my first time doing something.
Yes,
like
sir.
this.
Appreciate you.
Hopefully we can do it again sometime.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys so much for coming up. If you guys have any plugs, feel free to put them in now.
Oh wait, it's over. Oh, I feel like we talked for hours. Yeah, my name is Blake Drivas. You can follow me at Blake's POV on Instagram and type my regular name on Facebook. That's Blake's.POV on Instagram.
Yeah, and then Michael Wright, Guerrilla Underground Productions. So Guerrilla as in like the fighting style, and then Underground Productions. Just one word, Instagram, Facebook, whatever.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for listening. We'll catch you on the next one.
So, yeah.